Welcome to the Shouty Barky Dogcast, where we turn chaos into calm and celebrate the joy of life with our dogs. I'm Stephie Guy, and today we're tackling a topic that applies to any time gifts are exchanged. And that is navigating gift-giving occasions with your inquisitive, or let's say enthusiastic dog. Whether it's a birthday, anniversary, a festive holiday, or just a special treat day, if your pup can't resist unwrapping presents, sniffing out surprises, or getting a little bit overwhelmed by all the excitement, this episode is for you. Before we dive in, let's just go over the rules of participation, which are simple. Number 1, do as much or as little as you feel able. Number 2, you know your dog better than anyone, so listen with your eyes and listen with your ears. And if they don't want to join in with this, that's okay. There are other ways to navigate this situation. And number 3, relax and enjoy. First things first, preparation is key. Gift-giving occasions can be overwhelming for dogs, especially if there are lots of people, lots of noise, irresistible smells. And one of the best tools in your toolkit is a physical barrier, something like a baby gate or an X-pen or an indoor fence. These can give your dog a safe space to retreat to, and it can also stop them from getting into trouble by snatching unwrapped presents or sneaking a snack off the table or just generally getting into mischief. Make sure you've got this set up before your guests arrive or before the gift giving begins, and make that area really cozy with your dog's bed, a favourite toy and some treats. Remember, this is their happy zone, it's not a punishment area. And if you know from the outset that your dog can't cope with visitors, or if your dog is a resource guarder and is likely to start getting into trouble, then stop here. If your dog is okay without you, then pop them in that safe space with a comfy bed and a licky mat and a long-lasting chew and leave them to it. If your dog isn't okay without you, then your options are to find them somewhere else to go, so a pet sitter or a trusted friend, for example, or have someone come round and walk them whilst you're doing the gift giving. The second option is for you to stay on the other side of the barrier with them. The third option is to just opt out of the visit altogether. So if you know that your dog can't cope with you being on the other side of the barrier with them and all those people and gifts and excitement going on, then you can opt out of the visit with them. That's okay. Take your dog for a walk together or go into a different room and keep them company together. And you know what? Sometimes I really like to do that just to escape from all the excitement myself. I can get a bit overwhelmed with that too. The fourth option is to have a chat with your vet about situational medication that will just help you and your dog to get through this in one piece. All right, so assuming your dog is okay with visitors and doesn't guard resources, then here comes the fun part. Dogs love to be part of the action, so why not give them their own gift to unwrap? Choose them something safe. It can be a new chew toy, it can be a simple puzzle feeder, nothing too taxing on the brain. Imagine trying to do the Times cryptic crossword at a noisy party. It just ain't happening, is it? Or it could just be a stuffed toy. It could be an old stuffed toy, an old favourite toy that they haven't seen for ages, or even grab something out of their toy box and wrap that up. It doesn't have to be something they haven't seen for ages. Wrap it in plain paper, no glitter, no tape, no glue, just paper. You can press it to make it stay in one piece. You can have it wrapped around and round and round, multiple times around. That can help it to stay in one piece. Fold the edges in as you're rolling it up in the paper. That can help it all stay together. It doesn't have to stay together for very long, just long enough for you to give it to your dog. And when you're all gathered together, give your dog their present first. So they've got something to do. They can be unwrapping their present. They can rip into it. They can tear it apart. Just the act of unwrapping can be just as rewarding as the gift itself, which is why it doesn't matter what's inside, so long as it's dog safe. If your dog's never unwrapped a gift before, you might need to guide them a little bit. So you might need to just tear a small piece of the paper to get them started, but leave them to it as much as possible because this is their gift to unwrap. Okay, so far so good. It's when everyone is piling in, everyone is opening gifts, everyone's ripping off paper. Maybe you've got people squealing in delight. That's when the real chaos begins. That's when there's wrapping paper everywhere. Lots of noise, our dogs can become super bouncy and grabby. So instead of fighting it, turn it into an enrichment for your dog by creating a snuffle box. So before you start giving gifts, get yourself a box. Make sure that it's at a height that your dog can get into. So maybe no higher than chest height for your dog. And make sure that it's quite sturdy. It can be a delivery box. If you've had a delivery and you've got a box, then use that. And then as presents are opened, make it into a human game to toss the paper into the box. And your dog is allowed and encouraged to engage with that paper that is going into that box. Make sure that you remove any ribbons, tape, anything else that might harm your dog from the paper before you throw it into the box. If your dog needs some encouragement to get into the box, then you can rummage around in the box with them. You can drop a handful of treats in there. And then let them snuffle, let them pull, let them shred to their heart's content. If the paper ends up everywhere, that's okay. Just grab hold of it and put it back in the box again. It can provide them with hours of entertainment. It's such a natural activity for our dogs to be rummaging around in a box full of paper and treats in there as well that they can find. That this is going to help them to decompress. It's going to help them to cope with that noisy, busy environment. And it's going to keep them and their energy away from you and your gifts. It's genius, isn't it? Now, even with the best preparation, the excitement might get too much for some dogs. So watch for signs like hyperactivity, for fidgeting, for uncontrollable jumping or mouthing or nipping. Watch for pacing or whining. And of course, watch for excessive barking too. Watch out for the more subtle signs too, like turning their head away, or avoiding eye contact, or simply standing in front of you, looking into your eyes with a worried brow. That's what my dog will do when he's getting overwhelmed. He'll come and stand in front of me and look straight at me. If this happens, guide them to their safe zone that you've already set up with something calming to do, like a licky mat or a stuffed Kong. It's also okay to take a quiet break together. A short walk somewhere or some quiet time in another room together can work wonders. And I have to say, I really appreciate that excuse of my dog to escape for a while too. Okay, before we wrap up, I just want to add a quick note on safety. I want you on this day of gift giving to keep an eye on small gifts, keep an eye on batteries, food like chocolate that can be harmful to dogs. Make sure that anything like that is kept out of the way of your dog so that they can't accidentally get hold of them and ingest them. Make sure that your guests know not to feed your dog anything without checking in with you first. And remember, your dog's happiness and safety are more important than a picture-perfect celebration. If they're happiest watching from the sidelines with a chew, that's perfectly fine. If they're happiest at the other end of the house, nowhere near where the party is going on, that's perfectly fine too. All right, that's it for today's episode of the Shouty Barky Dogcast. I do hope the tips in this episode have helped you and your dog to enjoy the stress-free, fun-filled gift-giving occasions, no matter what the event. If you found this episode helpful, do share it with a fellow dog parent. And don't forget to check out our other episodes as well for more tips and tricks. Before I go, I just want to let you know that this is the final episode of season 1. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Your support means the world. If you've enjoyed the short, fluff-free format of this podcast, I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what worked for you. Let me know what you'd like to see in season 2 to help you and your dog to live your best lives together. Until then, give your dog a nice gentle stroke from me. Stay calm, stay cool, and stay canine friendly. Bye for now.